Good Saturday morning. It is the Loudoun County Weather Outlook. I'm going to highlight really the winter storm warning and winter weather advisory that's in effect for tomorrow. We'll start off though with today. There is some sleet and rain around this morning, mainly rain now at this point. That rain will, we could have some showers on and off through the day, but it doesn't look very wet at all. And then we just got to watch. You can see the time stamp up here in the upper left-hand corner. So this is into this evening, then overnight. And overnight you see the snow. This is the GFS, by the way, the American model, from this morning, 6Z run. So snow has overspread the area in the morning. It looks like even by 7 a.m. snow has gotten in here. So snow will start to accumulate. Snow could become heavy at times. These purples are really heavy snow bands here in the western Loudoun. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of rain snow mix at onset. I think even the forecast highlights that. This is a quick mover. If it was any slower, we'd have a lot more snow. But that moves on out of here. So it's 7 p.m. We're over. Winter storm warning tomorrow is 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. for western Loudoun and the winter weather advisory for eastern Loudoun. How much snow is the GFS putting out? This is a 10-to-1 outlook for the amount of snow. So here this morning, 10-to-1 means for every 1/10 of an inch of precip, you get 1 inch of snow. So western Loudoun definitely looking at about 6 to 7 inches of snow. East Loudoun about 5 to 6. I would not be surprised if this moisture holds on the GFS, it could increase all the area into a winter storm warning and probably move some advisories eastward. But this is a GFS model, and there's reasons why they did not highlight eastern Loudoun. I think it's because of the concern of some warmer air at the start. The western area may benefit later with even higher snow ratios, meaning bigger than 10-to-1, because colder air is really going to start to get entrenched from the Arctic air that's coming in on Monday. Just to give you an idea what that looks like, here's the 2-meter temperatures. That means like close to the ground level. Hold on. So here we go through the day. This is, again, early this morning. It takes a real long time for models to run. We're already kind of warmed up here by 7 a.m. above freezing. We're really above freezing today, up into the low to mid 40s. Tonight into the 30s, which you see from 10 p.m. we're above freezing. It's only later in the evening and overnight that the cold air finally gets in here, about the onset time of precip. So that's why eastern Loudoun could start off as a mix in rain and snow. Even everybody could. The atmosphere cools a little bit. You get some dynamic cooling just because of the evaporative cooling. Just kind of like when you get out of the shower, you get colder. That colder air is going to start to really infiltrate. You see by 4 p.m. the temperatures are dropping all day. As we get these lower 20s or to the mid-lower 20s, this is some powdery snow by the end. So it starts off wet and turns really powdery, and that's why you get a little bit of higher ratio of snow. And there is a model ratio formula called Kuchera. It's just a different algorithm than 10-to-1. It tries to take into account the weather as far as the temperature and the growth. It's usually a little bit overdone, but this one maybe not. So, 7, 8, 9 inches of snow, at least on the GFS is what's showing up here. I think the GFS is a little robust on this precip amount. So let's look at the other models really quick. And this is why I was calling for 2 to 4 inches versus the, bigger bounce that you saw on the GFS. We'll see if the noon model runs of this is higher, but this is the NAM or nested group. This is a high resolution radar model trying to predict how much snow there is. So you can see it's only about 2 inches of snow. This may be a little underdone. I wouldn't be surprised with a little more than this. But honestly, it's not that, unlikely. Here, I put in the Kuchera. It's a little bit higher, around 3 inches. So 3 to 5 inches is kind of what the forecast is for. I think, 2 to 4 inches with some seeing, 5 to 6 seems very possible. If you just happen to get in one of these bands that I think is going to set up. You see there's a band here in eastern areas, and then there's a band here in western areas. Funny enough, if you live in this middle area, you may get less snow, but we'll see. And here's a European model, and it's been pretty dry with this outlook. So it did finally come up to about 3 to 5 inches. If that's a Kuchera, that was a higher resolution or higher thing, which is a little higher. But 3 to 4 inches. This feels very, very much in line with what I'm thinking. 3 to 4 inches. I would not be surprised for most of us to see around 4 inches of snow tomorrow. It's a good little snow. This is nothing, small. It's a, impactful snow. It's not 1 to 3 inches. It's more like 4, maybe 5 if we get the higher ratios. Again, here's the higher ratio outlook, and I did show that you know, it pushes up near 5. So 4 to 5 inches, 3 to 5 inches. That's a good call by the National Weather Service. I think that's kind of what we could look for. If you're happy to get in some banding, there may be some folks who get a little bit of jackpot here. All right, so that is all the outlook here. As I mentioned, there's the western part of Loudoun is in the winter storm warning at this point for tomorrow. And here you go. I'm not redoing the size of the resolution here, but this is the National Weather Service's outlook. I think rightfully so, showing that 3 to 4 inch kind of range as far as the amount, and then of course you get a little elevation and you don't get any of that rain originally mixing in, and you just get a little better chance of squeezing more moisture out of the atmosphere, maybe up to near 5. But I think 4 inches is going to be kind of like the rule. 2 to 3, 4, something like that, maybe in eastern, and then areas seeing 5 and 6, you know, scattered around. That's kind of the best bet. I think the National Weather Service is going to handle on this based on all the models. GFS is a little robust. GFS comes through. I'll be excited, but I'm not a GFS or American model lover in that respect. All right, this is everything related to the storm, and that's a lot that I went over and a lot to talk. But now I'm going to go with the extended and also show you the national kind of outlook. I can tell you that nothing after about Wednesday do I trust, but I can definitely say that the midweek snowstorm is going to be crazy for the south. I don't think it's coming up this way at all. There's a chance that there could be something called diffluence or something. There's a split because of the jet stream up in the upper atmosphere. So there may be some snow around middle week, and that's even reflected in the forecast as we look at it. All right, so here we are in the national sense. This is after that storm moves through. You see we're just cold, 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 and that is going to be the rule. So, you know, the next headline after the snow tomorrow is cold conditions. Highs in the teens, lows close to 0, possibly, especially with snowpack on the ground. So look for some very, very cold low pressure, cold low temperatures. And here's a low pressure system I've been watching all week for potential changes. But if you look at the way that the isobars and the thermal setup is, nothing is pointing that this is going to move up in this direction. Everything is pointing from west to east. So it's all about where this low pressure system formed. And as a low forms, because of the friction in the atmosphere and stuff, it will bring it a little bit north. But this is not going to turn the corner. I mean, there's nothing that's going to drag it northward into this very cold air, except for over North Carolina, South Carolina, even all the way down into Florida. They could see some frozen precipitation. That's pretty rare. So you got to just say it's just crazy to see, you know, potential of the Florida Panhandle seeing some snow down into South Carolina, North Carolina. If I was to bet anywhere, it would be in this region right here that gets the jackpot. And especially in this area, if they get some most snow, obviously he's going to probably get, 6 to 12 inches of snow. It's not out of the question for South Carolina, North Carolina, most likely the North Carolina coastal plain. A very rare, crazy experience. They're not prepared for that at all. So states of emergency and stuff will be issued. Here's another follow-up system that could cause some snow. I was watching this to see if it gets entrained somehow, and at one point it was, and showing a snowstorm along the East Coast. Now, you can see here we have more of a U-dip here, so there's a chance for this to move a little further northward, but it's not strong low pressure, and by the time it gets its act together, it's a little further east. The only thing it's going to do is reinforce the cold air here as we go into the weekend. Will that come up the coast to be closer? Maybe. That's why I say after Wednesday, maybe we need to watch, but as of now, it's like maybe a little bit of snow flurry action as we get reinforcement of colder air for next weekend. Yes, cold. Cold conditions are going to stick around into next weekend. And this is really chilly air here. And then as we go into the future, now you get these strong southwesterly winds that are going to quickly eat away at the cold air. And we could mild up here as we head towards the end of the month. And so that's interesting. Here's another southern low. Cold air close by, but not close enough, at least on the GFS, for us to be wintry, if you can believe it. And then once it moves by, of course, it pulls down the cold air. And this almost looks like the same kind of scenario as what we saw today, with an extra area low pressure, but we get some anchor cold, so it'll be cold for everyone. This is so far off, though. I wouldn't count on anything at this point. But you can see that the cold air kind of comes back after it gets warmed up a little bit, and then more southern lows. So I'd say that the pattern's prime for low pressure systems to come up close to us, but none of them look like stellar major systems, and that's why the chances of snow are kind of hard to pinpoint, because the areas of snow are going to be hard to see. But we get some other chances as we head into the future as well. The thing I am seeing is that it's not going to overwhelmingly get warm, but maybe not as cold as it is definitely going to be early this week. There is a chance for more cold air to slide down, though, and we'll have to see if early February we can get another cold shot before I think the pattern will break, but we'll have to see. That gets pushed off further and further on the model runs. All right, y'all, that was a really long forecast outlook. Plenty to talk about with the snow. Definitely prepare. Snow breaking out tomorrow morning. Could be mixed with rain, especially eastern parts before the atmosphere cools. Snow could become heavy at times, especially in the early afternoon before it ends by mid-afternoon. And then, or late morning, early afternoon. And then when it moves out, it'll be cold, get windy. So I would say clear off the snow if you can, because after it gets that cold, it's going to become an ice glacier out on your driveways and stuff and on your cars. So get it off those things as fast as you possibly can before it becomes a concrete foundation for the week. Very, very cold weather. Again, lows, getting close to zero for a couple days in a row. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Sorry for the long outlook.